Ladies and gentlemen, this is Cynthia the Audio Belle. Get ready for the SVS Ultra Evolution Titan speakers. These speakers, at only $4,000 a pair, offer unbeatable value for audiophiles and home theater enthusiasts alike. For $4,000 a pair, or $2,000 per individual speaker, the SVS Ultra Evolution Titans are worth every penny. So I'd like to talk about the woofers first, because woofers are probably what I'm most passionate about when it comes to speakers and reviewing speakers, and they can be so hard to get right. These speakers have 4 6.5-inch woofers, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. From what I've seen online and from SVS's YouTube channel, this design helps to cancel out within the cabinet and allow more bass dominance in the room. The mid to woofer crossover is at 160, and the woofers can go down to about 27 Hz. They also have 2 rear-firing ports. The tweeter is a 1-inch diamond-coated aluminum dome tweeter, I remembered. And this may not mean much to you, but depending on how nerdy you like to get with your minerals or your metals, you might find this actually pretty interesting. Speaker companies in general, when they're designing their drivers, they try to come up with the best material, especially to use for a tweeter, in which case they can use different metals and minerals and try to find the right combination that sounds just perfect for their speaker. And in this case, this particular combination won for SVS. They also designed this patent-pending lattice diffuser for the tweeter. I'm not sure the breakdown of this scientifically, but they say that it has a random cellular pattern which makes all the difference. I was talking to Nick, the VP over at SVS of marketing, and he actually told me that it took them about 25 prototypes to get to the point where they had a product that they were satisfied with. And as for the crossover between the tweets and the mid-range, they went for 1.9 kilohertz, which from what I've read and done some digging on, that's actually typically a little lower than average. And speaker companies will put that crossover point lower between tweets and mids in order to make them blend more seamlessly. Speaking of the mids, for the mid-range drivers, we've got 2 4.5-inch puppies right here in the mix. We've also got 4 binding posts for the option to buy wire or buy amp. You may have seen this type of curved design before with Focal, somewhat also with Wilson Audio, although some of Wilson's speakers have a more modular approach. But using a curved design is an easy way to time align the drivers by getting them on the same axis. And I got to choose the color of my review pair, and I went with the white piano finish, and I think it looks really slick. It almost looks kind of space-esque, like outer space-esque type future whatever. That's kind of like the first thing that went through my head when I got them and unboxed them. They also have black piano finish and dark oak veneer. So you've got 3 different options to choose from. One thing that I thought was really neat that they've done is on their website, and I thought this was really cool, and I wanted to mention it here, but they have this customer bill of rights that they list out on their website of various different things that are basically your constitution, your bill of rights of what your warranty entails. I mean, it doesn't go into super depth with the warranty, but it does say that it's a 5-year unconditional warranty. I'm assuming that unconditional means unconditional because I didn't see any fine print. Obviously, accidental damage or something like you actually go and modify the speaker, that's going to be a different story. But otherwise, that's a pretty long time to warrant the speakers, in my opinion. Also, they have a 60-day guarantee where if what you purchase goes on sale within 60 days, then they will automatically refund the difference to your credit card. I thought that was super cool. Something also that I thought was interesting was they have this 1-year performance clause, and it says that if they improve the quality of the product within a year of your purchase, that they will go ahead and upgrade it to their standards of what they changed. I have seen, speaker companies make revisions in a product. They might tweak something in a crossover, even changing like the smallest thing, like a single wire. And then either they're going to make a new revision of the product, like, okay, this is product 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, or if it's so small, it may not be as like a big enough change for them to go ahead and release a new product. I think that that's a good thing that they've actually guaranteed this on their website, because I want to know what all gets changed in a speaker that I have versus like what they're selling now as the same product. There's a few other things in this Bill of Rights section that I thought was super funny, and also just it shows that this company is really down to earth. The only other one I'll call out, and you guys can go read the rest of them, but they actually have this direct line of contact that they allow you to have with their president, Gary. They have his email address listed on the Bill of Rights, where you can just contact Gary. Escalate all your issues to Gary. My overall impression of this speaker, I'm going to pull a Steve Guttenberg here, and I'm going to say that this is a happy speaker. This speaker is just fun. It is so energetic, and it is not overly analytical, not super just dry. It is a speaker that I feel like would be really great for music lovers that don't want to overanalyze what they're listening to and just want to have fun with their music, just want to, take a load off and listen for a while. And I think it's also fantastic for audiophiles because it has that audiophile quality, regardless of how fun it is. All right, guys, so my main listening room, as many of you who have watched my videos before know already, is not perfect. In one sense, that makes for an even better test of some products because they're being put in the most imperfect situation. I've got wood floors, limited room treatment, a lot of open space. It's roughly 14 by 24 square feet. This posed a little bit of an issue for me with these speakers in this large room because what I was experiencing was a lot of pierciness in what I thought to at least be the highs. And I was actually going through and looking at various different reviews to see if anybody else had experienced this. One reviewer that I was watching had actually mentioned that some discern the tweeter to be bright because it doesn't roll off until 5 kilohertz. He mentioned that basically many other speakers don't wait until 5 kilohertz to roll off. They start rolling off before that. And I thought that was my problem. I thought maybe it was just too much for my room and too much for me and my preference. But then I decided to start doing some digging, and I started looking up different frequency bands and averages for various different instruments and vocals that I was listening to. And what I found was not many of them actually. The mids, again, per that same reviewer I'm referring to, in his graph, they stayed right towards the middle, right on that middle line, pretty much throughout the mid-range drivers. And I know you're going to ask me, well, why didn't you do your own measurements and like EQ it or figure it out? But I decided to do something a little bit different, something I haven't done before, and I'm going to get to that here in a little bit. To kind of describe my dilemma in this room, SVS is really known for like subwoofers and home theater products. So I thought, I'm going to have great bass with these speakers. But because of the size of my room, the bass just wasn't super prominent. Now, I think it was fine for audiophile critical listening and kind of listening at some more realistic levels, although I still think the bass was a little lean for that. So I tried turning the volume up, and basically all that did was increase the pierciness and the brightness. So it was too much. And instead of take measurements or EQ, the top down a little bit, I wanted to hear these speakers for what they were as much as I could. And I decided to change listening rooms. And I moved them to my home theater room, which is basically just my master bedroom. It also has wood floors, but they're pretty much all covered up. My husband and I have this huge king-size bed that takes up almost the whole room, and the main reflections are going to be the walls. It's a perfectly rectangular room, pretty much. I went ahead and decided I was going to move it there and incorporate it into my 5.1 channel and also try 2-channel listening. So by this point, I was really excited to hear them in a new environment, so to speak, because I know that SVS is a very well-renowned company. All of the reviewers out there really like these speakers, and I knew that they deserve a chance. So when I moved them to my home theater room, which it's just a medium-sized room. It's not a large-sized room. It's not a very small room, but it's medium. It made all the difference. In fact, at this point, I decided just to nix all of the notes that I took pretty much while listening in my living room and complete my listening session in there. So in the new room, I started with 2-channel home theater, literally just changed my receiver over to stereo, and I started listening to movie clips from WALL-E, Monsters, Inc., and Cars, and all kids' movies, right? Honestly, I started like this because Tidal was removed from Roku for some reason, and so I would have to move some stuff around in order to use Tidal, which I later did. So yes, I listened to clips from a lot of kids' movies, and they're really good tests, actually, because the quality of the sound in these movies is just phenomenal. I also like to test trailers when I'm implementing new stuff in my home theater system, and one of my favorite ones to test, which my husband actually got me onto, was the Avengers Endgame trailer, because of that beginning part where Robert Downey Jr. is talking to his love of his life, and he's telling her, I'm about to die, and then you start hearing his heartbeat. It's just a really cool scene, and what I heard from the Titans blew me away. Whatever brightness they had in my living room worked to their advantage in my home theater room, and actually brought out the voices in such a good way, where it sounded like I had a center channel hooked up. It would have fooled me that I may have still had my center channel hooked up. In fact, I had to check, and no, it was not hooked up. So that was very cool. And the bass and the mid bass in these speakers is phenomenal. I was listening to a clip from Monsters, Inc., and Sully, the main character, he has kind of some deeper tones to his voice. And something that was really cool was when he was over to the right side of the screen, I could hear those deeper tones being played through that right speaker.
Hey, look, I think I have a plan here. Using mainly spoons, we dig a tunnel under the city and release it into the wild.
Spoons.
It didn't need anything to supplement it. It was doing it all on its own. Great imaging. It's very cool. Oh, also, the voices. They had this auditorium kind of quality to them, as if you were listening to voices in an auditorium. And that's actually something I heard in both listening rooms. I thought that it was a great effect for home theater and just something that I really enjoyed. Also, there were times where my husband Jeremy and I were just sitting there kind of listening to different trailers and different clips and everything. And there were moments when we were listening that we would be looking over at each other, jaw dropped, and just find ourselves that way after hearing certain scenes, rumbles of things, just various different, I want to say, characteristics of these speakers that we didn't have in our normal home theater setup. Our normal home theater setup consists of 4 Magnepan 1.7i's and a Sue Research subwoofer. So, and then a Mordaunt short center channel. Look it up if you haven't heard of them. Pretty good. There were even times where it seemed as if the sound was traveling behind me or right through me, kind of giving this interesting surround sound effect. It's probably a combination of both the room and the speakers, but I loved it. It gave me chills. We ended up taking the topping DAC we use in our 2-channel system, as well as our Volumio box, into the home theater room so that I could actually do some 2-channel listening and give you guys a synopsis of the experience that I had. What I encountered in my 2-channel listening with these speakers is that they have a huge presence. The tweeters are so good. These speakers have some of the clearest vocals that I've heard out of speakers from this price range. The mids are snappy, and the impact from the bass is something that you can feel. Overall, I'd say that these speakers are pretty decently well-rounded. There were a few times where I felt that the highs were still a tad piercy, and the bass was a little slow at other times. You may not notice that if you're not looking for slow bass. It's something that I notice because I am super critical about bass, and it's something that I'm really passionate about as well. And it was more so on the lower end that this was an issue for me. I will say that the bass was very powerful, and you are not going to need a subwoofer to supplement these if you have the right room. Just some example songs I have for you guys on some things that I listen to, and I listen to a ton. I would bore you with all of the examples I have, so I'm only going to give you a few super prominent examples that I picked out of my notebook. I Can't Go On Without You by Kaleo. I thought that the center image was right on par, absolutely perfect for this song. The speakers, again, they didn't seem to be overly analytical, and they had a very pleasant approach to reproducing this song. Bliss on Mushrooms. This was actually a recommendation from Al Clark of Danville when I was listening to the Danville room at Axpona. He thought the song was weird, but he kind of liked it, I could tell. It's an EDM song, and I think that it's a really good test for speakers. It has a little bit of everything from what I can tell, and the imaging when I was listening to this was just perfect. It was right on par. You can hear where different things were, and not everything was just blending together like crazy as far as the sound stage goes either. I actually noted in my notebook that for this song, everything was like I expected it to be, and the mid-bass was quick. Sail by AWOL Nation. This one popped my amplifier. It was so awesome. Don't use this amplifier if you buy these speakers. It's not beefy enough for them. They need something a little bit more beefy that can handle them. Turner's Ship by Malia is one that I love to use to test my sound system because it's just an epic song. But there's so many different things you can pick apart and hear in this song. There's at the very end of the song, there's a sound of like bugs chattering or mosquitoes buzzing or whatever they're portraying. And if you have just the right sound, it sounds like there's really bugs. Her voice, I love her voice, and I love her music in general to test bass, some of the deeper toned bass. It kind of starts really slow and it has some lower bass, some mid to high percussions. Just the overall ambience of this song, you can feel and hear the air around you. They want that song to feel airy when she comes slamming down with her voice and with the bass and saying what she's saying in the song. I have no idea what she's talking about, but I love that song. And actually, there was this thundering sound, this rumble at the beginning that I don't remember ever hearing, that these speakers pulled off. It actually sounded like thunder outside. Oh, this song. This song is so beautiful. Yi Jian Mei. It is a Taiwanese pop song, I believe, from what I've read. And I think that it's sung in Mandarin. And I can actually sing it. No joke. I'd have to practice again, but I seriously took 12 hours on a road trip trying to learn how to sing the transcription of this song. So, love this song. The singer, he has such a gorgeous voice, and there's so many beautiful highs in this song that absolutely came out with these speakers like I've never heard them before. This is the best that I've heard the highs in this song. Most cleanest, clearest, detailed reproduction of highs I've ever heard in that song. So how do they compare to the absolute sound? Quite decently for the price point, I would say. The most realistic portion was definitely the tweeter. Violins, guitar, string instruments in general, vocals and piano could all have had me fooled, for sure. Mid to tweets with percussion instruments that play across both frequency bands could have as well. And for the mids to bass, drums had a big kick to them. I mean, you could feel it in the chest. Sometimes I felt the bass was too much. For example, Poem of the Chinese Drum. The bass was slow. That is a very unforgiving piece, and you need some fast woofers to be able to play it correctly. However, big drums in I Am Moana, absolutely. They sounded, I don't even know how to describe it. I mean, it is, again, it's from a movie, right? But it is still a song that was recorded with real instruments, and those drums had this huge sound. It really sounded like you were in a tribal village hearing them. And how do they compare to a live orchestra? So recently I had the opportunity to hear my favorite orchestral piece of all time, Die Moldau by Smetana. They finally played it at the OKC Philharmonic. I got to go see it live. I got tickets in either the 10th row or the 12th row, right in the center. Couldn't get those 11 row seats, unfortunately. But wow, it brought tears to my eyes to hear my favorite piece being played by my local orchestra. And I've had the darndest time finding the perfect recording of this. I've got this on vinyl, like 2 different vinyl copies of this from 2 different orchestras. I've tried different things on Tidal. I had not found a recording that sounded a lick of anything good. So I finally found one just the other day by the Slovak Philharmonic. And that was the best recording of that I've heard. In fact, I'm not just saying that like because I'm having to choose from bad recordings. No, the recording was good. And it sounded like what I had heard at the concert as far as the imaging, the soundstage, where the conductor had chosen to put the different players. And when I listened to it on these speakers, it came so close to what I heard at the concert. I'm sorry, I love that piece, and that's what got me into being an audiophile, was that piece there. But getting to hear it in concert, and then also getting to hear it reproduced on speakers that actually came really close to what it sounded like, I was floored. There was another interesting piece they played that night that I was at the orchestra called Man-Made by So Percussion. It's a very weird piece. They used all kinds of different objects as instruments, like they were breaking sticks on stage, they were ringing wine bottles and doing some stuff with steel piping, and they were even taking like these old-fashioned kind of trash cans, you know, like the one Oscar from Sesame Street would be hiding in. They were taking those and taking the lids and basically slamming them on the trash cans at certain points. And it made this kind of thundering sound. It wasn't as prominent at the orchestra as it was on these speakers. And that was really the only complaint I had about accuracy again, for the price point and trying to reproduce an orchestra, it's very difficult. And these speakers did a really good job. It was just the bass was too much. And so when those trash can lids smashed down on those trash cans, it was overbearing. So that did not happen at the concert, but pretty much everything sounded like what I heard at that concert with that particular song, because that song was just a mess. If you get a chance to listen to it, it probably might be the only time you ever listen to it in your life, but it made for an interesting show. If you're a music lover or a home theater enthusiast looking to upgrade your speakers, these speakers are for you. And if you are an audiophile looking for a well-rounded pair of speakers in the $3,000 to $5,000 price range, these are the speakers that I would buy. You can tell with the earnestness that I have in my voice and how much fun I'm having recording this review that I'm totally serious about that. I'm not just saying that. I would totally buy these, and I hope you can tell just by how much fun I'm having doing this review and be on camera talking to you guys that I really like these speakers. For $4,000, I really don't think that you can go wrong with this one. There's one thing that I really wish that they had though, and something that I think would make a great addition to these speakers is a bass knob, like what they've got in the Golden Ear T66s that I recently reviewed. Not sure how hard it would be to implement one. Taking into account the room, its size, and its nuances, I think this would have really helped in my case. If you have somewhere between my large-sized living room and my medium-sized home theater master bedroom, then this wouldn't have mattered at all, because I think just somewhere right between the two would have been perfect. But given what I've got going on in my room, I would have loved to be able to just crank up the bass with a knob in my living room and crank it down in my home theater room where I thought it was too much. But one last minute discovery that we made with these speakers, this is something else. Because we had these foam pieces from our Sioux Research subwoofer, and Jeremy decided to take them out and put them in the bottom ports of the SVS Titans. Wow, the bass tightened up considerably. It was so tight, so focused, and so clean. You know, I wish I would have made that discovery earlier, but I kind of like it both ways, ported and non-ported, just depending on the use case. For home theater, I definitely would have it unported, because even though the rumbling is more uncontrollable than I would like, even for home theater, it is so powerful that it's incredible. But the tightness that these puppies right here added made for a completely different listening experience, completely different speaker, resolved all issues I had with the bass and it being too much. And it's not often I say that, because in the audiophile world, typically what I experience is not enough bass. But this was too much. Get yourself some of these if you are the type of person who likes tight, clean bass. Not everybody does. Some people do not want to sacrifice that powerful, huge sound that it can have to tighten it up. Some people prefer listening to more bassy tracks in a more bassy way. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't like it to where it's overbearing. I don't like to hear windows rattling as cars drive by with big subwoofers in the back of them. But I also don't like something that's so lean to where you feel like you're missing something. You know, you're not getting all of that protein in your steak. That's the way I feel about it. So I'm somewhere in the middle depending on what I'm listening to. So all of this has just told me that these speakers are very capable of anything you want to throw at them. They can be as versatile as you want them to be. As far as the foam plugs for the ports, if you want to do that, I'm sure it'd be really easy to find some foam to put in there. I do wish that SVS included them, and I hope that maybe in the future they will. for situations like this where the rooms just don't mesh as well as you would like them to. And that being said, unless you're Robert Harley, most rooms are imperfect, and speakers are not perfect. In fact, the combination of your room and your room treatment EQ, all of the above, and your speaker, they may mesh really well together. You may love the sound that comes from that, or they may not mesh together at all or get along. And so the ability to be versatile with this speaker by plugging the ports or EQing, adding room treatment, or moving it to a different listening space. There's multiple options, but I don't think that you should discount this speaker, because this is so far this is on my list of favorites. I really enjoyed listening to them and having the opportunity to review them. It really didn't matter what I played. I played country music and it sounded great. I played EDM, folk, classic rock, pop music. There's a lot that I played. Hip hop. As weird as it sounds, I'm going to close with this. These speakers could play country music really well, and it might sound weird to you. I don't know where you're from. I'm from Oklahoma, and I grew up on country music. I love country music. Mostly I love the old country singers and songwriters, but I've started to get into some of the newer country as of recent because the recordings are so... they're quality recordings, and in these speakers, because of their ability to really make vocals shine and their ability to add that thumpiness, the vocals from the country singers and then like just thumpiness on whether it's strings or whatever they're trying to do, because a lot of that newer country is more thumpy, it just brought it all out, and it's some of the best country music I've ever listened to. I really think country music's pretty nice, and I know there's a lot of people that don't like it, but I thought it was pretty cool what these speakers did to the country music. If you own these speakers or any SVS products, let us know what you think about them in the comments box. This is Cynthia the Audio Belle signing out.